One wrong post-9/11 GI Bill rate can leave a student budget thousands short. Stay with us because the tuition ceiling is not the number most likely to surprise an online student. Professor Adeyemi studies veterans' education benefit design, and he is joining Erica, Fenrir, and me for the rate table reality check.
That ceiling begins August 1st and runs through July 31st of the next year. Watch these students cross campus, because the school and course format decide which number matters.
That private school ceiling can still pay 50%?
That challenge is fair. Professor Adeyemi, separate the ceiling from the award.
Because the page lists full rate maximums, including the online housing maximum. The veterans' eligibility tier and training load can reduce them. That distinction keeps a planning number from becoming a false guarantee. A student should place the VA award percentage beside the school's certified charge before comparing any remaining balance.
For the record, the exact VA page says a private or foreign college can receive net tuition and mandatory fees up to $30,908.34. Public institutions follow a different rule. The live rate page shows that cap in context. It is for the academic year, so splitting enrollment across terms does not create a fresh ceiling each semester.
At a public college, the full benefit covers net tuition and mandatory fees. That doesn't make every other cost disappear. Housing, books, and your percentage tier remain separate calculations. Out-of-state charges and fees the school does not certify deserve their own written answer before enrollment.
The study table is where the rate becomes real. Online-only housing tops out at $1,261 a month, while an in-person class can change the housing formula.
Hold there, can one classroom meeting change the entire housing rule?
It may. The VA says at least one in-person class while taking online courses may qualify for the higher resident housing allowance. The school still certifies the enrollment. What would change your plan first? The tuition cap or the housing format?
One more planning distinction. VA sends tuition and fee payments to the school, while housing and books follow their own payment channels. A household budget should not treat every benefit component as cash arriving at the same time.
That also changes the emergency fund question. A student may have tuition covered and still need money for deposits, transportation, food, and the days before a housing payment arrives.
These military students are the stakes. Coming up, the flight training cap hides a missing housing line that changes the choice. Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it.
Sara, housing follows course format, and your eligibility tier is the multiplier. 90 to 179 qualifying days maps to 50%, while the full tier has separate qualifying routes.
The paperwork should show the percentage before a student builds a budget around the headline rate.
Does a resident school code override an 80% tier?
The unit is wrong. The VA says the payment can be prorated by eligibility percentage and course load. 80% of the online maximum is $1,008.80 before any training load adjustment. That worked number is a planning example, not a personal award quote.
There it is. The ceiling became a budget only after the multiplier.
Resident housing works differently. The VA uses the 2026 E5 with dependents BAH rate tied to the school's postal code, then applies the relevant percentage and training rules. 2 schools with similar tuition can therefore produce very different housing budgets because their locations differ.
Foreign school housing has its own national average maximum of $2,522. Eligibility tier and training load are the 2 payment multipliers. Flight and correspondence students don't receive monthly housing under this rate table.
Here's the ruling. Put the resident and online paths side by side. Resident housing uses the school postal code and requires qualifying in-person attendance. Online only uses a national maximum and offers remote flexibility. Neither path wins every row.
So the wrong shortcut is comparing schools on tuition alone. The living cost gap can outrun a small tuition difference.
Online enrollment is convenient, but convenience carries its own housing ceiling. Watch the hands at the laptop. The course format selected on that screen can change the monthly budget.
Here's my recommendation. Compare the certified program, your tier, and the housing method on the same page before committing. A high tuition ceiling can't rescue a housing plan built on the wrong format. Coming up next, the flight training number hides a housing surprise.
Different numbers, same enrollment.
Professor Adeyemi is back with us for the CAPS Outside a Degree program, where the training category can matter more than the sticker price.
Erica, this is a different animal entirely. The training may never look like a four-year campus.
A classroom is only one route. Flight and correspondence training use their own payment rules. So do non-college programs, tests, and apprenticeships. The useful comparison is not college versus training in the abstract. It is the exact approved program, its cost, and the benefit category VA applies.
Flight training is capped at $17,661.89. Correspondence training has its own smaller cap.
One question first. Both also get the online housing maximum.
No, the future rate page says flight and correspondence students don't receive monthly housing. Books use a separate yearly allowance. Those missing lines change the whole cost comparison.
Books and supplies can pay up to $1,000 per academic year. College enrollment can calculate that as $41.67 per credit for up to 24 credits.
The small add-ons are easy to miss because they sit below the headline tuition table. A qualifying highly rural move can trigger one $500 payment. VA ties that payment to specific county density and relocation conditions, so living in a rural place alone is not enough.
And the testing number?
Qualifying licensing and certification tests can be reimbursed up to $2,000. Look at the calendar. Every figure in this episode belongs to the August 2026 through July 2027 rate year.
For tests, reimbursement can consume entitlement based on the amount VA pays. A $2,000 ceiling should not be read as a free extra outside the benefit record. Ask how the payment affects remaining entitlement before scheduling repeated exams.
Which CAP would surprise your school certifying official most? Professor Adeyemi, thank you. Give us the one sentence a student should keep.
Match the benefit category to the program before you compare any maximum.
Professor Adeyemi, that category first answer gives us the final school planning check. August 1st is the reset. The practical move is to turn the rate table into 4 checks before the school certifies the term.
First, confirm the percentage on your education award. Don't multiply a school cost by 100% when VA has assigned a lower tier.
Second, compare approved programs, not brochures. Watch the advisor and student work through the screen together. The certified program name and training type are the details that matter.
Third, model housing from the actual schedule. One in-person class may change the rule, but the school must certify what you're taking.
Fourth, ask about the add-ons that fit your route. Check books and tutorial help. Check qualifying tests, yellow ribbon, and the rural relocation payment. Put each answer in the same budget so a small uncovered item cannot hide behind a large tuition headline.
So the premise was wrong. The rate table is a set of limits tied to different choices.
The VA page was updated in February, so save the one resource that matters, the current link. Even Bodley and Folio cannot make an old screenshot current.
This rate card starts August 1st, 2026 and ends July 31st, 2027. If your enrollment crosses that boundary, compare the rate year attached to each term instead of carrying one maximum across the whole program.
Then keep the comparison with your certificate of eligibility and the school's certification. If a number changes, those 3 documents show whether the difference came from VA's rate year, your percentage, or the enrollment the school reported.
One more boundary. The VA page says these are maximums at the full rate. Your actual payment depends on eligibility, enrollment, and the program the school certifies. Ask for the school's written estimate, then compare it with the official VA page before you trust ring.
A recruiter's verbal summary. Keep the written estimate.
Exactly. The written record is the comparison that survives a changed assumption.
Open the official comparison tool before the application. Watch the calculator. The expensive part is choosing with the wrong assumptions, not doing the arithmetic.
Subscribe if this kept the wrong ceiling out of your budget, then share it with a student comparing online and resident housing. Would you trade online flexibility for higher resident housing? Walk away with this. Match the rate year, benefit tier, and certified program before you trust any maximum. Keep learning with us, and we'll see you next time.